Hello everybody, and welcome back to another market analysis, this time for the month of October. And this was kind of an interesting month. A lot going on. We have new items released. We had the announcements at Runefest, as well as a few other interesting price changes, which I'm going to try to explain, but there could be a few different reasons for that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Now, first up here, I always like to look at the market index over the last month. The market index is a combination of popular items, and it kind of tracks the price relative to historical data. So it will give us a rough estimate on how strong the market is right now. 100 being where the market started at when the index was created. Had I not looked at this, I would have assumed the market was more in a downturn, but actually has been increasing for a month or two now. Back in July, where the index was worth around 90 points each, is currently upwards of 100 plus. Now we do have to keep in mind that this is only including 30 items down here. Now if we look back at the historical data and we didn't really include the mobile hype, we'd be kind of at an all-time high almost, where things are more expensive than they've been in the past. And actually, if we look at some of the other indexes, like the Rune index, for example, things are increasing in price there as well. And you know what also is increasing in price at a terrifying rate? That is the price of bonds, almost 6 mil right now. I think that is a historical all-time high. I don't ever recall a bond going above 6 mil, but I think right now you may actually sell one for that price. The price of a bond has been increasing steadily pretty much since the new year. Now, in my opinion, I think the price would have plateaued a while ago. However, they removed the free membership trial, which I think was a good idea. So now I think more people are buying out bonds. And of course, I think there was the summer special in there as well. But man, the price of bonds are expensive. And I think they could even go up to maybe like 6,500 before Christmas time and the inevitable crash after. Now, one thing to keep in mind is, to some degree, the old RuneScape bond is representative of how inflated the GP is in game. There are other factors as well, but I think in general, the more inflated that the RuneScape economy is, the more expensive the bonds will be as well, and I think it's a good indicator of that. Okay, so now I wanted to have a look at kind of an interesting occurrence that happened over the last month or two, and I'm not entirely sure what happened here. It happened over a few different items, all third age. Now, first up here, we have the third age robe, which back at the end of the summer was worth around 20 mil. Very quickly increased to almost double its initial price, up to 36 mil, and then it crashed right back down again. Now, I think I was actually flipping some of these items around here. So I really thought everything was just crashing in price. I hadn't looked back at the historical data so much, but really interesting, this is reflected in a few different third age items. Right here we have the third age range top, and previously that was just the third age robe. Same deal at the end of August, drastically increases in price from around 30 mil up to 45 mil, which is pretty much the same percent increase, and now has crashed back down to 30 mil. If we look at the third age ranged top, exact same story, going from around 60 mil up to 80 mil, and now back down to its original price. Another one here kind of is the third age range legs, going from around 13 mil up to 23 mil and now back down. Now you might be saying, well, market changes happen all the time, and I would normally agree with you, but this is kind of a weird item for a giant price change like this to happen. These are items, for one, that have been in the game for a while. They are cosmetic. I mean, they do have a few uses to some people, but there's not a really good reason for a giant price hike like that and then subsequent crash. It would make more sense for the item to crash, as some people will be selling it off to afford new items or new pieces of content that may have been announced at Runefest. So in my opinion, I think this was probably a merchantine clan. Some people may actually know that for sure. I don't actually know. I think it just looks a bit suspicious otherwise, as they followed a very similar trend, increasing by a very similar margin, and in the exact same time frame for an item that really shouldn't be doing that. I'm sure it's possible that one of you may actually know this for a fact. So if you have a little more information on this, I would appreciate it if you left a comment down below. However, that is just my guess. I don't know that for sure. I just looked up a random item here, the third age full helm, pretty much the exact same deal, from 16 mil up to 24 mil and immediately back down. Okay, well anyway, let's move on to another item here. We have the toxic blowpipe. Now at the end of summer, the toxic blowpipe really was bottoming out in price. It went down to like a historic low of 3 mil. Maybe it's gotten cheaper than that, but I doubt it. And now all of a sudden it is increasing in price. Now I think the main reason for its, well, kind of sudden increase was that there was talk of locking Zulrah behind Song of the Elves or giving it a higher requirement. And I think that was around this time frame because it pretty immediately shot up from around 3 mil up to 4 mil, now up to 5 mil, and it seems to be increasing from here. Now, another reason is Runefest. There is going to be some new content. Some of it will be PVM related, and normally if there's new PVM content, ranged is often one of the best combat styles to take, and usually ranged gear will increase leading up to the new content. And the exact same deal for Zoller scales, going from around 140 up to 230, increasing 100 GP over the last couple of months. Now, of course, these two items are directly tied, so only one of them really needs to be increasing in price. For example, the Toxic Trident is most likely increasing in price as well. Yep, same time frame, going from around 3 mil up to 4,600. Okay, now let's move on to a few of the newer items here. One that kind of surprised me is the Sarachnis Cudgel. It bottomed out after release at around 700k or 750k. But has very recently seen a giant price resurgence, bringing it up to a max of 3 mil once again, and now currently worth around 2 mil. Now, the main reason for that is I think the Sarachnis Cudgel is one of the best in slot weapons at the new Basilisk Knights. The Fremennik Exiles quest came out on September 26th, but it looks like there was a bit of speculation before that. I think that's pretty cool, having a mid-tier weapon actually be useful. Okay, and next up here we have the Basilisk Jaw. Now, it's only been out a couple of weeks now, and it's seen quite a few different price changes. The main reason is that they made the Basilisk Knight stronger, and thus the rarity of the Basilisk Jaw went up. Immediately after the feedback changes, it went from 20 mil up to 30 mil, and it's kind of been fluctuating in price ever since then. It is kind of a challenging monster to kill for mid-levels, and the item is fairly rare. So I think the price of the Basilisk Jaw will stay expensive for quite a while. Another new item I wanted to look at here quickly is the Truver Parchment. Bottomed out at 500k each, but has been increasing in price pretty drastically this month, slowly raising up to around 900k and then shooting up to 1.8 mil, which is pretty similar to its release price. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure why that is happening. I personally only thought the Truver Parchment would be useful if it was cheaper, so I think at 2 mil, I don't think many people are using it. My best guess is maybe the LMS bots got taken out. I'm not really sure about this one. If you have any idea why the Truver Parchment is on the rise again, leave a comment down below. I'd appreciate it. Okay, and next up here, let's look at some of the big ticket items. And the one everyone's talking about this month is the Scythe of Viter, which has seen a huge crash over the last couple of months. Back in July, it was more expensive than the Twisted Bow, and now it's around 300 mil less than it. Over the last couple of months, it has halved in price. Okay, I haven't actually looked at this item yet, but I am making an assumption that the Amulet of Torture has seen a few interesting price changes this month. And the reason for that is that in the Runefest reveals, they said they're going to make an attachment for the Amulet of Torture specifically that will give it lifesteal and whatnot. And yeah, look at that. Actually was increasing in price before Runefest. That's pretty interesting, actually. A very noticeable price increase actually a couple days before it was announced. Seems kind of suspicious, actually. Regardless, though, we are seeing a massive price increase based on speculation and based on this content passing. And I think retroactively it probably has affected the other Zenyte items as well. And the Necklace of Anguish has been increasing at the exact same price, going up from around 13 mil up to 15 mil. Even though you can't attach the new Demon's Heart or whatever it's called to the Anguish, they are linked by the Zenyte. I'm going back to the Torture Ornament kit here, though. Is that just a coincidence? Because okay, number L is when the Mauritania expansion was announced, and it had already increased in price a significant amount by then. I'm trying to think if there's any reason for that beyond some weird insider knowledge going on or just a very large coincidence. Let me know if you have any ideas regarding that, but I do think that's a little bit suspicious. And I think this is always going to happen, but I think something kind of jump-started a market crash, and then more people have started selling off the item, and now we're to where we are today. I think the Scythe overall is just not as strong as the Twisted Bow, so it was always destined to be cheaper than it, but I didn't imagine it would be this soon. And last up here, we have the Twisted Bow, looking pretty consistent actually over the last couple of months. Now, there isn't too much for major market changes over the last couple of months, but I'm going to be eagerly keeping track of this item. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the market analysis for October. If you have any questions, any debates you want to start, leave a comment down below. I always appreciate it, and I will see you next time.